Something shifted in Dublin. Beyond all the fanfare, the international buzz, and the Irish charm surrounding the Steelers' overseas trip, there was something far more meaningful happening on the field. What stood out wasn't the location or the novelty of it all. It was the sudden emergence of players who, until now, had been written off. Guys who had been labeled as liabilities began to flash signs of real value. That's the kind of transformation that energizes a team, changes a narrative, and maybe, just maybe, alters the course of season. Take Keanu Benton, for example. Through the first few games, his name had mostly been associated with missed assignments and questions about whether he even belonged in the rotation. Then, out of nowhere, he starts making plays that change drives. It wasn't just that he was better. It's that he looked like a different player. And when a guy goes from invisible to impactful, especially in a game like this one, that's not just a win for the team. That's a potential turning point in someone's career. That's the type of thing that gets noticed inside the building, not just by fans watching the highlights. And how about Kenny Gainwell? Talk about stepping into a role under pressure. Jaylen Warren goes down, and suddenly it's Gainwell's moment. He didn't just hold his own. He ran with confidence, vision, and purpose. He looked like a guy who'd been preparing for that exact scenario all along. It's not easy to jump into a game plan on the fly, especially when it wasn't tailored for you. But there he was, making defenders miss and earning tough yards. That kind of performance gives the coaching staff real options. It adds depth, it adds flexibility, and it tells you a lot about the mindset of the locker room. These aren't players content to ride the bench. They want a bigger role, and now they've made their case. But the biggest surprise of the week? That has to be P.T.O.N. Wilson. Let's not sugarcoat it. His season was on life support. There were already rumblings from the coaching staff, and based on the tone coming from Terrell Austin before the team even left Pittsburgh, it felt like a change was inevitable. Instead, Wilson went out and led the team in tackles. Not in garbage time, not in mop-up duty. He was active, disruptive, and locked in from the start. It was the kind of performance that makes people forget the headlines from the week before. He flipped the script completely, and you could see the impact on the rest of the defense. They rallied around it. Moments like that are rare. It's not often that players turn public criticism into motivation and deliver when it matters most. That's why this trip to Ireland will be remembered as more than just a novelty. It was a reset button for several key players. But let's not stop there. Let's talk about what could be next, because if these transformations are real and sustainable, there are other parts of this roster that could be on the verge of their own resurgence, starting with the tight ends. Now, nobody's completely thrown them under the bus just yet, but let's be honest, this group has not lived up to expectations. Pat Freiermuth, in particular, has been the center of a lot of quiet frustration. We know what he's capable of. We've seen flashes over the past couple of years that made people believe he could develop into one of the league's elite. But 7 catches through 4 games? That's not going to cut it, especially when we know he's being targeted just not often. Only 10 targets all season. That's not a volume problem. It's a trust issue. There's a disconnect between Freiermuth and the quarterback right now. Whether it's route timing, communication, or just chemistry, it hasn't clicked. And yet, you get the sense it's right there, just beneath the surface. Because when he does get the ball, good things happen. Over 9 yards per catch. A few key first downs. He's still moving the chains when given the chance. The raw ability hasn't gone anywhere. The production just needs to catch up. And it's not just Pat. Jonnu Smith, who came in with plenty of expectations and familiarity with Arthur Smith's system, hasn't been featured the way many expected. Only 16 targets? This is a guy who was a yards-after-catch machine in Miami just last season. He's already racked up 76 YAC yards this year in a limited role. Imagine what happens if he becomes more central to the game plan, especially in a system that thrives when tight ends are contributing both in the passing game and as blockers. There's room to grow here, and the coaching staff knows it. There have already been signals that more tight end involvement is coming, and frankly, it needs to. But if there's one area that absolutely has to improve, it's the pass defense. Coming out of training camp, this secondary was being hyped as potentially elite. With names like Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay in the mix, plus the development of Joey Porter Jr., The expectations were sky high. And yet, for games in, the results haven't come close to matching the promise. The Steelers are giving up over 260 passing yards per game. That's bottom 5 in the entire league. For a group this talented on paper, that's unacceptable. Ramsey has made a few splash plays, sure, but he hasn't delivered the kind of consistent, shut-down coverage he was brought in to provide. And now he's dealing with a hamstring injury, which throws another wrench into the plans. Without him, the Steelers might actually benefit from a more traditional approach to coverage, rather than leaning so heavily on matchups and shadow assignments. Maybe it's time for guys like Brandon Echols to get more reps. Maybe we finally see Porter return and settle into a more defined role. Something has to give. It's clear that the communication hasn't been clean in the secondary. Too many blown coverages, too many soft cushions on third and medium. If this group can tighten that up, even just a little bit, the ripple effect on the defense will be massive. Pressure up front gets home quicker. Linebackers don't have to drop as deep. The whole unit becomes more aggressive. It's all connected, and it starts with better coverage. Now let's flip it and look at the offensive passing game, specifically through the lens of Aaron Rodgers. This is where things get tricky. Statistically speaking, Rodgers is getting the ball out faster than just about anyone in the league. On paper, that sounds efficient. In practice, it could become a problem if it limits the scope of the offense. And that's exactly what's happening. The deep ball? Barely present. The intermediate throws? Rare. Most of his completions are coming on quick outs, slants, and short curls. It's easy to point fingers at Rodgers, but let's be real. This is by design. The entire offense last week was built around neutralizing the weaknesses of the offensive line. Get the ball out fast. Use tight ends as extra blockers. Keep the playbook tight and controlled. And to be fair, it worked. The Steelers won. But that doesn't mean it's a sustainable approach for the rest of the season. Rodgers still has the arm. That much is obvious when you watch him throw in practice. The accuracy, the power, the variety of angles, it's all still there. What's missing is the opportunity. If this offensive line can start holding their blocks just a beat longer. There's something fascinating about watching a team slowly shift its identity mid-season. Not because of a blockbuster trade or a major coaching change, but because individuals begin to rise above the noise. And that's exactly what's starting to happen with this Steelers squad. As we continue to peel back the layers of what's going on, we can't ignore the internal battles playing out beneath the surface. It's in the quiet changes, the reps redistributed, the tone in pressers, the way guys carry themselves on the sideline, that you see momentum building. And right now, it's starting to tip. Look at Darnell Washington. This isn't just another guy in the tight end room. He's becoming a centerpiece of the offense's identity, even if the box score doesn't quite show it yet. Every time he's on the field, he adds value, whether that's clearing space in the run game, giving Rodgers a safety net on rollout passes, or just being a physical presence that defenders have to account for. But what's really interesting is how the coaching staff is treating him. They're not babying him. They're not easing him into situational roles. They're putting real weight on his shoulders. Goal line formations, lead blocks on key third downs, crossing routes that force him into traffic. They trust him. That kind of trust doesn't come easily, especially for a young player who isn't putting up flashy stats. But it's there. And when that trust exists between a play caller and a player, it opens the door for a bigger role, faster than anyone expects. And yes, there's been some quiet talk about what Darnell could be down the line. Not just a great blocking tight end or a red zone target, but possibly a legitimate tackle if things ever went in that direction. That versatility makes him even more valuable in a league where adaptability is currency. The fact that he hasn't shut the door on that possibility shows maturity and awareness. He understands the big picture. But for now, the focus is clearly on maximizing him as a tight end. And you get the feeling that the staff is just scratching the surface of what they can do with him. At quarterback, the Aaron Rodgers conversation continues to evolve. His efficiency is being both praised and critiqued in equal measure, mostly depending on who's doing the analysis. The advanced metrics say he's protecting the ball well and playing within the system. The film shows a quarterback who's being limited, not by his own skill set, but by the structure around him. There are moments, even within this stripped-down version of the offense, where you see it, the subtle pump fake to freeze a safety, the quick shift in footwork that buys him just enough time to find a second read. These aren't things that show up in the stat sheet, but they're there, and they matter. What this really comes down to is trust in the offensive line. Right now, that trust isn't there. Rodgers doesn't have the luxury of sitting back and letting plays develop. So, instead, he's doing what smart veterans do. He's adapting. He's getting the ball out, protecting himself, and executing the plan as it's drawn. That's leadership, even if it's not flashy. But if this team wants to take the next step, someone up front is going to have to start winning their individual matchups. That's how you unlock the vertical passing game. That's how you give Rodgers the space to cook, to improvise, to be the guy he's been his whole career. Because make no mistake, that version of him still exists. It's just waiting for the green light. And when you think about offensive rhythm, there's one more name that keeps hovering around the edges: Calvin Austin. He's not the focal point, and maybe he doesn't need to be. But what he brings, the speed, the ability to stretch a defense horizontally, to create mismatches in space, is something this unit needs more of. His injury situation has been frustrating, sure, but the potential impact he can make when healthy is significant. If the staff can find a way to scheme him into motion plays, jet sweeps, or even just as a decoy that shifts coverage, you'll start to see the dominoes fall in the passing game. Defenders are already having a hard enough time accounting for the tight end packages. Throw Austin's speed into that mix, and you force defenses to play more honestly. That opens up lanes, not just for him, but for everyone. Defensively, the tone is different. There's a bit more urgency. The run defense has been respectable, but the secondary, as we mentioned earlier, needs a spark. One name that continues to generate buzz is Joey Porter Jr. Injuries have slowed his momentum. But this is a player who, when healthy, brings a physical edge to the corner position that few others do. He doesn't just cover, he competes. He challenges routes. He forces receivers to work for every inch. That's a mindset the rest of the unit can feed off. When you have a guy who's not afraid to mix it up, who wants the toughest assignment, it changes the energy on the field. With Ramsey out for now, this could be Porter's moment to cement his spot. The staff might not have a choice. If the alternative is letting opposing quarterbacks keep feasting on zone coverage and soft shells, then Porter's aggression becomes a necessity. The key is finding the right balance, letting him play to his strengths without putting too much on his plate too fast. But make no mistake, he's the kind of player who could become a tone setter for this defense if the opportunity is there. Meanwhile, the linebacker group is undergoing a quiet evolution of its own. With Wilson stepping up, it brings stability to a unit that was teetering on uncertainty. But beyond just stats, it's the way he played that matters. He wasn't just reacting, he was diagnosing plays. He was anticipating movement before the snap, making adjustments at the line, and playing fast. That's the version of Wilson the staff hoped they were getting all along. Now that he's shown it, the challenge becomes maintaining that level, week in and week out. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Rumors are swirling across Pittsburgh and the NFL as whispers turn into what seems like a solid move. JAYLON Johnson, the lockdown cornerback everyone's been talking about, is reportedly set to join the Steelers. While nothing has been officially announced, insiders suggest the deal is close enough that the Steelers' defensive backfield could soon become the stuff of nightmares for opposing quarterbacks. Johnson's arrival in Pittsburgh has fans imagining a secondary that's nearly impenetrable. Known for his lightning-quick reactions, ball-hawking skills, and ability to shadow elite receivers, Johnson could immediately transform the Steelers' defense from solid to dominant. Observers are already speculating that with him lining up opposite one of Pittsburgh's existing corners, quarterbacks will think twice before testing that side of the field. The timing of the move couldn't be more tantalizing. After a season of highs and lows in the secondary, the Steelers have clearly signaled their intent to shore up a unit that's struggled with coverage breakdowns and missed tackles. Adding a player like Johnson wouldn't just fill a hole. It would redefine the defensive identity of the team. Rumors suggest that the coaching staff is ecstatic about the potential matchup nightmares Johnson could create, especially in crucial third-down situations where shutting down passing lanes is paramount. Sources close to the organization hint that this move could trigger a domino effect. Other defensive pieces may see their roles shift, and the secondary alignment could become a puzzle that confounds even the most seasoned offensive coordinators. Fans have taken to social media, buzzing with speculation about how the Steelers might deploy Johnson, whether as a shadow corner against the league's top wideouts or as a versatile piece in zone schemes designed to blanket entire sections of the field. Of course, until official confirmation drops, everything remains speculative. But the mere possibility of JAYLON Johnson suiting up in black and gold has sent ripples through the NFL rumor mill. If these whispers hold true, Pittsburgh could be on the verge of assembling a secondary that's not just good, it's terrifying. And for teams planning to face the Steelers next season, that's a nightmare they might not escape. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.